Alright, here's what I did to this Super Reverb. This is the second Super Reverb I've had in this week, and it was mostly original with a couple replacement parts, but I wanted to make sure that it was ready for home use. This isn't necessarily the service that I would do for an amp that was on the road, so we replaced the electrolytic capacitors. So these are the cathode capacitors. I replaced all of these, but I put the new capacitors in the old shell, so that's why they still look like they're original. I just think it kind of looks neat. I replaced the screen grid resistors with these because these screen grid resistors get hot because they're right on top of the tube. A lot of time these grid stop resistors, which is this 1.5K carbon comp resistor, they also get hot and go out of spec, but they were still good in this amp, and this amp is being used at home, so we left it. Did a 3-prong cord, made sure that I grounded it to the chassis, and got rid of the grounding capacitor. Then I replaced the bias capacitor, but again I put it in the original casing to kind of make it look cool, and checked the bias on it, and everything was good. Actually, I didn't even have to adjust the bias, it was already set perfectly. I took this bias plate, this brass grounding plate. I took that off and I cleaned it, and then I reconnected one of the grounds that had come undone. I cleaned the faceplate, cleaned all the knobs, cleaned all the jacks, cleaned all the pots, cleaned the jacks and pots and everything, all the grounding connections that are here on this back panel. Cleaned these sockets for the reverb and the vibrato. I replaced all of the filter capacitors. Again, I put them in these old caps, so it kind of looks old. I replaced these carbon comp resistors that were here for the filter supply. I replaced them with these metal film, and these are fire resistant ones, and I think that they are better for this part of the circuit. And tested all the tubes, tensioned all the sockets, cleaned all the sockets, put the tubes in, biased the tubes, tone tested all the different preamp tubes. Basically, I popped new tubes in and out and see if I can get it to sound better. I did replace one tube because it was microphonic. Now it's a pretty quiet amp because that one tube was making it loud. I did not put this sticker in there, but it is true, you shouldn't adjust your bias unless you kind of know what you're doing. But I didn't want to, anyway, I didn't take that off. With the cabinet, I took the cabinet apart. I cleaned the cabinet, and I cleaned all the wires. I actually redid this. This is actually new. I aged it to make it look old so it didn't stand out. Obviously I didn't age the sleeve or the tip, I just aged the casing. Rewired and reattached the speaker terminals because they weren't on there correctly. Someone else replaced these two speakers. I made sure that they were the correct impedance, and made sure that the whole setup was the correct impedance for the amp, which is 2 ohms because it's a Super Reverb. It's always nice when you see the original tag in the amps. And oh, the reverb cables, there was something wrong with the reverb. It actually ended up being the cable, not the tank, and not anything in the circuit. It was the actual cable. And that's what you get with basically an amp that hasn't been serviced or not serviced properly. So that wasn't just a service, that was a service plus a cap job, plus a filter cap job, plus some other random things. You know, I charged a little extra to clean that bias plate. Grounding plate, why do I keep calling it a bias plate? I charge a little extra to fix up the cab. When things are a little bit dirty, I charge a little bit extra. So it wasn't just a service, it was a service plus all those things. So that's my process. Hope you liked it. Hi.